scoreboards. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. It's great to be in Chicago for this holiday weekend. And for the Marlins, they have some wind in their sails. They pull in after a sweep over the San Francisco Giants and an emotional, stirring win yesterday circling around Jose Fernandez.
Yeah, you want to just kind of bottle everything that we saw the ball club have yesterday, not only with the fans, but down in the dugout with Jose, the way he pitched. You want to bottle that, and you want to bring it to Chicago for this 3-game series here.
I don't know if you can fit Justin Bour in a bottle, but you want to bring him here because he's been hot, and he's one big reason why the Marlins swept the Giants.
Well, he has had some big numbers ever since Giancarlo was placed on the disabled list. So you need a guy like Justin Bour who has homered now in 3 consecutive games. And the key to those home runs, the last 2 he's hit, have been 3-run shots, and they have come in key situations. Here's something you have to look at, though, Rich. The last time Justin Bour went on a home run tear, he homered in 3 or 4 games. It was then that the Marlins played the Cubs in Miami. The Chicago Cubs pitched him a little differently, and that kind of set the tone for a June that saw him slump a little bit. But he's on fire right now. You see the numbers he's put up over the last 3 games.
And as you pointed out, the Cubs are significant. He was an original draft pick of the Cubs. So, there's the thunder for the Marlins. Now the question is, can the Marlins keep it up pitching-wise? And the matchup here is Tom Koehler against Jason Hammel. Let's start with Koehler, who's been splendid his last 2 times out.
How about this? You look at what Tom Koehler has done. Not only his last time out, it was against the Dodgers, it was against Clayton Kershaw, 7 innings, 6 hits, a couple of runs. Prior to that, he beat the New York Yankees. So look at it this way. The Yankees, the Dodgers, the Cubs today, storied franchises. Tom Koehler goes for a win on the road today.
And the Marlins will be facing a guy that pitched quite well against them. You see Kohler's numbers, 14 starts, a 6-4 record. Koehler taking them out here at Wrigley. The guy that started against the Marlins in that series, which was a fun series, by the way, at the beginning of June when the Marlins took 2 of 3 from the Cubs, Jason Hammel, and he's the guy that won that one game.
He's also the guy who kind of started things in the wrong direction for Justin Bour. He struck him out 3 times. Good slider. When he gets ahead, look out for that. How about 11 strikeouts in that outing against the Marlins in Miami? Jason Hammel, in his last 5 starts here at Wrigley Field, is 1-0 and has an earned run average of 1.56. So the slider's devastating. You got to really make yourself try to lay off that pitch. He has a good changeup, and he'll keep the ball down and get a lot of ground balls, too.
And the Cubs have momentum right now. You see Hammel warming up, getting ready. They just swept the Mets. So 2 hot teams here in Chicago. The 4th of July weekend starts this afternoon with the Marlins and the Cubs playing in the confines. Friendly or not friendly? We'll find out. These next 3 days, the Grateful Dead playing their last concerts at Soldier Field. The White Sox are in town, and of course the Marlins and the Cubs start it this afternoon. And down below is Jessica Blaylock. Hi, Jess.
Hey, Rich. Well, when you take a look at this road trip, it is all about tradition. It's Chicago, it's Boston, it's Wrigley, and it's Fenway. Now, when it comes to Chicago in particular, whether it's the ivy on the walls, whether it is the atmosphere, guys love coming here to play, including Justin Bour, Christian Yelich, and Miguel Rojas.
Anytime you can come to Wrigley and play, they have some of the best fans in baseball, and you see it all the way through. When I was in rookie ball and all the lower levels, they follow it like crazy, and there's Cubs fans everywhere.
Bleachers, Ivy, Wrigleyville, it's just a great atmosphere and a lot of tradition, history here, and it's just an exciting place to play, and I enjoy coming here every year.
I feel all the traditions involve this ballpark, be around the city of Chicago and come to the ballpark. With last year I was here for the 100 years from the field. Now they do a lot of new things with the scoreboard and the jumbotron, so it's going to be fun.
Hey, and it's going to be fun for me, too. This is my first trip to Wrigley Field, so I wandered over to the Ivy Wall and I grabbed myself a souvenir. Don't tell anyone. Be sure to keep it right here. When we do return, we'll check back in with Craig Minervini and Preston Wilson in the studio. After that, it is first pitch between the Cubs and the Marlins in Game 1 of a 3-game series. It's day baseball. It's 4th of July weekend here in Chicago.
is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. By H. Gregg. Top brands, low prices, fast delivery. Gregg's got it. And by AutoNation. Visit us online at AutoNation.com. The DirecTV blimp is high above right now. A live shot into Wrigley Field. A look into Miami's dugout as the Cubs take the field. The Marlins and Cubs opening a 3-game series here. Of course, the Marlins are without Giancarlo Stanton. Some news surrounding Stanton yesterday. Good news. The player of the month in the National League in June.
Well, we saw every one of the blasts that Giancarlo hit. They were mammoth. They were key. And to see him do what he did, just tremendous and certainly worthy of player of the month. Unfortunately, injured, and he's going to be out about 4 weeks. But Giancarlo was doing just an unbelievable job, and you just were anticipating what his final numbers were going to be when it's all said and done.
Well, speedy road back, and hopefully by the time the calendar turns to August, Stanton is back in uniform and back on the field. Those are the numbers that he posted. 12 home runs, and he drove in 24. Now, without Stanton, Tommy, the Marlins lineup has been pretty resourceful, and a nice sweep of the Giants.
Anytime you have a hitter such as Giancarlo missing from the lineup, everyone else has to kind of pick things up and produce, and we've seen that. And the big key to that has been Justin Bour lately. Over the last 3 games, he's homered in 3 straight. But also, Echeverria swung the bat well. Christian Yelich is on a good roll. D. Gordon had his hitting streak stopped yesterday, but still he has been contributing. So everybody's contributing. JT Realmuto has had a nice last few weeks.
JM Lexus brings you Miami's lineup for this ball game. A few changes in there. D. Gordon in the leadoff spot. Christian Yelich hit second. Danny Echeverria at short. Justin Bour, former draft pick and farmhand of the Cubs. JT Realmuto in the 5 spot. Miguel Rojas had 3 hits yesterday. He's back in there at third base. Cole Gillespie gets the start in center for Marcell Ozuna. A mental health day off. Ichiro is in right, hitting 8th, and Tom Kohler slotted 9th against a tough customer right now in Jason Hamill.
Yeah, the Marlins saw Hamill in Miami. That was the only game the Cubs won in that series. And they saw a really good 6'6" right-hander.
Pitch Penny brought you that first pitch. D. Gordon, Christian Yelich, Danny Echeverria here on an absolutely gorgeous day at Wrigley Field. There's the bunt. It's a good one. Bryant charges, whips it to first, and just gets Gordon. That's a nice play by the rookie third baseman.
Because of the nature of the grass here at Wrigley, you probably see D drop down a few more bunt attempts in this series. Take a look at the defense for the Cubs, brought to you by BMW. Here's our old friend Chris Coughlin in left, Dexter Fowler and Chris DeNorfia in the outfield. Nice play by Bryant at third base. Addison Russell at short today. Herrera, Rizzo on the right side. Miguel Montero behind the plate. Kind of a mental day off for Starlin Castro, too, says Joe Madden.
That's true. Castro getting the day off for the Cubs. Ozuna for Miami. Here's Yelich. His average has climbed to 253. And he may be Miami's hottest hitter. I know Justin Bour has homers in 3 straight games. But Yelich is on a couple of incredible runs. He's 9 for his last 14 in terms of hits and at bats. And he's reached base in 15 of his last 20 plate appearances.
And the thing you and I always look for, he's done too, along with that 9 for 14, 6 walks during that period of time.
Fastball in on his hands, and he fouls it into the seats. 2 teams with momentum coming out of their last series. The Cubs shutting down the Mets, the Marlins beating the San Francisco Giants. The Giants had the best road record in the National League before that series started in Miami. And Yelich takes down low. And Tommy, for the first time, I just realized I can look up at the scoreboard and see the count here. Even Joe Madden is looking up at the scoreboard going, look at how beautiful that is. Not that scoreboard, although the count is up there. Yelich drives it to center and hits it pretty well. Fowler goes back at the track, looking up, gone. And the hottest hitter the Marlins have stays hot. Christian Yelich, his 5th home run. Yeah, go ahead, throw it back. Yelich gives Miami a 1-0 lead.
Christian Yelich will take it. It's his 3rd career home run here at Wrigley Field. He is on fire. Little breaking ball. He had 2 strikes on him. Breaking ball just stayed out over the plate. Even Dexter Fowler couldn't climb into the seats. And just like that, the Marlins have an early lead.
And here's a Danny Echeverria. Justin Bour behind him. So Yelich now is 10 for his last 15. How about that? Echeverria left field. That's hit pretty well. Coughlin has room. And he makes the catch. The wind right now, kind of a breeze from right to left. There's a look at the flags. Now that's the old scoreboard. You see the flags atop the old board. You got the clock, games that are tonight. Look at the new scoreboard above the new bleachers and left. Now you pan around to right. There's another scoreboard waiting for you down that right field line.
You and I were commenting when we first got to the ballpark with no one in the stands. But looking out, they're not obtrusive. They are of green background, so they blend well. I think it's a real nice touch.
Justin Bour saw it off. Little one-hopper. Rizzo, a race to the bag for the big man, and he's safe.
And a big guy with an infield hit.
You had 2 big guys, Rizzo from one direction, Bour from the other. Thankfully, they didn't collide, and Bour got there first.
Well, a mistake made by Hamill. The pitcher did not get over there to cover, so it was up to Rizzo, who had to really venture a long way from first base. Here's the race, and there's the foot of Bour getting there. And not too many infield hits for Justin Bour, but he'll take it. Good hustle, good job on his part.
JT Realmuto now. So Bour with a single. Realmuto, his bat has perked up. He checks in at 251. Jeff Mathis worked yesterday with Jose Fernandez, but Realmuto in that Giant series did some damage, and he was in the 5 spot. Had 3 hits in the first game.
JT had a game here last year. He was able to start 1 game at Wrigley.
For some of these Marlins, it's their first look. As you noted, for Realmuto, 1 game. Justin Bour played in 1 game here as a Marlin. He never got here as a Cub. Never was able to get a look at the friendly confines wearing the Cubs pinstripes.
I believe there's some security somewhere around Wrigleyville here looking for Jessica Blaylock, who stole a piece of the ivy off the wall earlier today.
You know, that's punishable here in Chicago. JT takes outside, and Hamill seems a little bit unnerved. First, he didn't cover the bag on that soft one-hopper to Rizzo, and now he walks Realmuto, and up comes Miguel Rojas.
Well, and because of that, he gets a visit from his catcher, Miguel Montero. And Miguel Rojas back in there because he had a nice 3-hit day in the ball game yesterday.
Rojas in there for his glove yesterday. Dan Jennings wanted his best defensive lineup surrounding Jose Fernandez. Rojas got the start. And he put good at bat behind good at bat behind good at bat. Had a triple and a couple singles.
And he made some nice defensive plays. So Dan Jennings was rewarded getting him in there.
There's the line for Jose. No walks, 6 strikeouts.
How early was Jose out here working out?
Well, he beat us to the ballpark and spent a good deal, I would say about an hour, just running out on the warning track, running in the outfield, doing his leg work.
We saw him then with no one really at the ballpark at the time, come behind home plate with his camera and took a couple of photos, maybe a video.
Threw for a little bit, little side toss. Rojas takes, and Hamill now falls behind it at 2-1. Greg Gibson, by the way, is the home plate umpire. Chris Siegel, Marvin Hudson, Sam Holbrook are the other umpires. The umpires, the Marlins and the Cubs here for a 4th of July weekend. Tom Kohler staying wrapped and warm. The 2-1. Not sure Rojas, uncharacteristic, a big swing, and for whatever reason that prompted Montero to go out and talk to Hamill.
You know, it could be for a couple of reasons. I don't think it's to do anything with the signs, but when a guy like Hamill misses up, and he's missed up, he has to stay down to have success. And his last 2 pitches to Rojas have been up, and that may have been something that Montero touched base with him on.
You see that last pitch, pitch number 4. Count even at 2-2. Bohr at second, Real Muto at first. Breaking ball, little tapper. Hamill has this one and gets it to first, and he almost missed the target on Rizzo. Miami settles for a run. Christian Yelich, his 5th of the season, and a 1-0 start in the friendly confines. Around Wrigleyville, outside of Wrigley Field. Here come the Cubs. J.M. Lexus brings you their starting lineup. Dexter Fowler, switch hitting center fielder. Anthony Rizzo, pride of Parkland. Chris Bryant is in the 3 spot. Miguel Montero, the cleanup. Chris Denorfia gets a start in right. Chris Coughlin, our old friend, out in left. Jonathan Herrera at second. Jason Hamill will hit 8th. Joe Madden likes to pitcher 8th, and that means Addison Russell, who gets a start and gives Starlin Castro the day off. He's at short.
And there's a good look at Tom Kohler, 29-year-old, making a start as a 29-year-old for the first time. Turned 29 a couple of days ago. 3 games, a couple of starts in his career against the Cubs. No record, and he's had one of those starts here at Wrigley Field back in 2013. So coming off 2 really nice starts against the Yankees, against the Dodgers, and a nice one last time beating Clayton Kershaw 3-2. Went 7 innings, gave up just 6 hits and 2 runs. The key for Tom in that game, no walks, and really had command the entire game.
So Kohler gets Dexter Fowler, Anthony Rizzo, and Chris Bryant. First pitch misses. Kohler just turned 29. Fowler takes a rip and fouls it back.
You talked to Rich about the Cubs and the stretch they're on, winning that series against the Mets. They won the season series against the Mets. They finished 7-0 against New York.
And they did it with pitching, especially this last series. Though some in New York might question it was more the Met bats than the Cub arms, but regardless, the Cub pitchers had a great series against the Mets. Fowler on a hop. Dee Gordon's been terrific all year. He leads all second basemen in baseball in runs saved, and he continues to play well. For the Fish, here's the defense for Miami.
A little different feel at the turf here at Wrigley Field. There's a defense with Yelich. Cole Gillespie getting the start in center. Ichiro is in right. Miguel Rojas at third. Echeverria, D. Gordon up the middle. Justin Bour, the first baseman. JT Real Muto behind the plate. Talking about winning a season series, the Marlins finished 5-2 against the defending World Series champs,
San Francisco Giants. Here is Anthony Rizzo. If you're a South Florida baseball fan, you know Anthony Rizzo. Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland. Look out. That's a line smash into the seats. And let's hope everybody's all right.
Anthony Rizzo, an all-star last year, should be this year.
Not many hitters stand as close to the plate as Anthony Rizzo. Chase Utley comes to mind. And Rizzo is a guy that doesn't give a lot of ground and pays the price. He's been hit a lot. 15 times Rizzo's been hit by pitches. But boy, his approach has really paid off. 297 average, 405 on base, 552 slugging. If you were to design a modern day slugger, a modern day offensive player, using both the old school and the new school, I think Rizzo's one of the first to come out of that equation.
That's a really good comparison. That's good. He mixes in some good base running. He has 12 stolen bases.
He's good around the bag at first.
Excellent defender.
Enough power for the old school guys, the ability to get on base, and the high slugging for the new schools. Kohler's 3-2. Good live fastball from Tom.
So what you're saying, Rich, is a guy like myself could actually talk about Anthony Rizzo with Brian Kenny.
And you guys would come to a fine agreement that he's all-star worthy and a really good player. Rizzo to left. That's Yelich out there. He makes the catch.
I really like the way Tom Kohler pitched him. Sometimes the misconception is if a guy's on top of the plate, well, you got to go away to it. Well, he busted him in and tied him up and made some really good pitches to it.
Can you ask for better weather than this? I mean, 72 degrees. It's not too hot. It's not too windy. There are a few clouds and a lot of people in Chicago. Big 4th of July celebration scheduled tomorrow with fireworks off the Navy Pier. That one to left. Bryant hits it well. Yelich goes back, and it's off the top of the wire from the basket. Yelich has it. Bryant has himself a 2-out double, his 14th double of the season.
This is a ball when it was initially hit. You kind of thought maybe it was going to travel more, but Bryant got under it, a little top spin, and it drops for a 2-base hit. Well, it's not an easy place to play left field, right field, even center field. There's that angle out there in both right field and left field. It's a bright day.
And in the back of every outfielder's mind is the fact that, yeah, the ivy looks good, but that's a brick wall behind it.
Yeah, if you come here in April, you don't see the ivy.
Now Miguel Montero, former Arizona Diamondback, found a home here in Chicago. Sends one into right field. That's a base hit. Ichiro up with it. Here comes Bryant. Ichiro's throw to the plate is offline, and Bryant scores. The game is tied. Couple of two-out hits. Miguel Montero makes it a 1-1 game.
Well, Bryant is fresh. He got an off day yesterday from Joe Madden. Montero has gotten some big hits for the Cubs, and he gets a big two-out single there to tie this game. Either way, good throw would have not gotten Bryant, who got a good jump with 2 out, and Montero picks up RBI number 29.
And for a big man, Bryant runs quite well. Now Chris Denorfia. Denorfia, a guy that has found himself in and out of some starting lineups. Always been an interesting player in terms of skill set.
Made a nice living as an extra outfielder. A guy who's a very good defensive outfielder anywhere where you put him.
He's about to turn 35. End of the bat, little roller. Gordon has it on to first in time to get the outs. But the Cubs bite back and tie the game. Off the lake. Remember, Tommy, it's July, and baseball's best players will gather in Cincinnati. Midsummer Classic with home field advantage for the World Series. Coverage starts in the 2015 Major League Baseball All-Star Game on July 14th, 7 Eastern on Fox. And it streams live on Fox Sports Go. All-Star voting wrapped up yesterday. It will be announced. The All-Star starters to be announced this weekend. On Sunday. Cole Gillespie getting the start for Miami. Gillespie takes a strike. Miami got a run in the first. Christian Yelich homering to center. And then put 2 runners on with 2 outs. Jason Hamill got out of the inning on a Miguel Rojas ground ball. Gillespie, Ichiro, and Tom Kohler.
Drafted by the Brewers, but Cole Gillespie spent 25 games as a Cub a couple of years ago.
Here's a look at Ichiro. Sharp breaking ball from Hamill, who himself has been around. Out of Port Orchard, Washington.
You could almost say a bit of a late bloomer.
Up the middle, Gillespie. Russell gets a piece of it, but Gillespie runs pretty well. He's got himself a base hit.
You know, with Tampa Bay, with Colorado, the Orioles, Oakland, but all of a sudden his time as a Cub, and Jason Hamill's been good. There's a good slider, but a good job by Gillespie not to try to pull it, made contact, got it up the middle. Leadoff single.
And of course, Hamill came over from Oakland in the, Hamill traded to Oakland and then came back to the Cubs. It's hard to believe that Jeff Smarja and Hamill went to Oakland. Addison Russell came here. And then Samardzija came back to the city, but to the White Sox, and Hamill came back to the city, to the Cubs.
So now Russell and Hamill are together again.
Yes. Well, they passed on their way in opposite directions. Ichiro.
And may have waved at Samardzija on his way over to the south side.
Ball and a strike. Ichiro is on an 0 for 20 skid, and that's 5 shy of the longest 0 for in his very impressive career.
He has played some games, 5 games, 4 starts here at Wrigley Field for Ichiro. They add these two things together. He's had good success against Hamill, and in his 5 games here, 7 for 18.
Yeah, 8 for 20 against Hamill. He fouls that back to the screen.
I think with Ichiro, as you and I have watched him go through this 0 for 20, a lot of it is pitch selection. There isn't a whole lot that changes with his mechanics.
And down he goes. Fastball in, tied him up. Tom Kohler, and with 1 out and a runner at first, the likelihood is Kohler tries to push Gillespie to second with a bunt. Bryant starts to creep in at third. Rizzo holding the runner at first. And Kohler sends it Rizzo's way. Very nicely done by Tom Kohler. Marlin pitchers have been a lot better handling the bat and bunting. Brett Butler takes pride in that.
A real nice job by Tom Kohler. I know when it's done properly, it looks very easy. He made it look easy.
And so with Gillespie in scoring position, Dee Gordon, who had his hit streak snapped yesterday, of all the great things that happened for the Fish yesterday, Dee Gordon was 0 for 4. His hitting streak stopped at 12. Still a healthy .345 average to start the day. Takes ball 1.
Yeah, he's been battling Paul Goldschmidt for a while. Goldschmidt at .352 right now.
Gordon dropped down a bunt in the first, and Bryant made a terrific play to get him. Sends that one down the left field line. Long run for Coughlin. And it's in a familiar spot for Marlin and Cub fans, right? That spot right on the wall. 2003, Game 6.
You and I were here early getting some things done up in the booth, and right below us was a tour of Wrigley Field, and we could hear the guide talking about the flags and the new scoreboards. We didn't hear him say much about 03, though.
Russell And he can't make the catch. Shielding his eyes from the sun. Addison Russell does not have sunglasses on. Now Chris Coghlan, the left fielder, has sunglasses on. And he might want to rethink that strategy.
Yeah, he might. He's a shortstop by trade. He's been playing second with Castro over there, but with Castro getting the day off, Addison Russell has moved over to short. Surprised that he hasn't gone in and gotten the glasses.
Well, even Joe Madden is wearing sunglasses.
Has, yeah, he has the stylish ones always.
1-2. And Gordon goes down. And so Hamill strikes out Gordon. Miami done in the second. It's 1-1. Marlins and Cubs. Final is here. A rematch 4 years in the making. Alex Morgan and Team USA take on defending champ Japan to see who will be crowned a champion. Coverage begins Sunday, 5 Eastern, only on your local Fox station. And it streams live on Fox Sports Go. And a doubleheader on Sunday. You've got Marlins and Cubs from Wrigley. Everything starts at 1:30 on Fox Sports Florida, and then USA versus Japan at 5 o'clock. Jessica Blaylock is here in the friendly confines. Hi, Jess.
Hey, Rich. A couple of injury updates for the Marlins. First off, Michael Morse, who is dealing with some tightness in his back. He is making a minor league start today, and according to Dan Jennings, could be back with the Marlins as soon as tomorrow. And then Henderson Alvarez, he also has a minor league start today. The goal for him is to really up his pitch count, so hopefully he will be back soon. But again, Michael Morse could be joining the team this weekend as early as tomorrow.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Here's Chris Coghlan. Coghlan takes ball 2. Tom Kohler gets Coghlan, Jonathan Herrera, and then the pitcher Jason Hamill, who is in the 8th spot in the Orioles. It's been a solid season for Coghlan, who last year had a kind of an under-the-radar year. And really started to show the form that he had back in 2009 when he was a Marlin, and he was the National League Rookie of the Year. Coghlan, a high fly ball. That's Ichiro. You see the sun sparkling off of his glasses. And he gets the out and right. Be interesting to watch next half inning if Addison Russell comes out with sunglasses on.
Yeah, I think a Danny Echeverria has sunglasses on. Always something you have to check, certainly, at Wrigley Field. There's Etch.
Here's Herrera.
He's got the good-looking ones on, too.
Yes, he does. You got to look good and play good. Jonathan Herrera, switch hitter. getting the start at second. Of course, Addison Russell's been playing second. Starlin Castro, the everyday shortstop for the Cubs.
So Joe Maddon's trying to pick a guy every day. We mentioned he gave Chris Bryant a day off yesterday, Castro a day off today, and he'll probably find somebody for tomorrow. Not so sure. I like the beard on Joe Maddon. I like that pitch, though, to Herrera. Just a perfectly located fastball.
Joe Maddon going with the Ernest Hemingway look. Folks down in Miami can appreciate that. Now Hamill in the 8th spot. And Kohler misses outside. Cubs last year, just 73 wins. But it was their best record since 2010. That's hard to believe. I mean, the Cubs in 2012 won just 61 games. In 13, they won 66. 73 last year. And now they're 42-35. Market improvements. On to first in time. Miguel Rojas handles it. Tom Kohler very solid in the seconds. 2 in the books in Chicago. Christian Yelich homered, and it's a 1-1 game. In honor of this 4th of July weekend, Fox Sports proudly supports Folds of Honor and its mission to provide educational scholarships to families of military members who have been killed or disabled while serving our country. For more information, visit foxsportssupports.com. It's a 1-1 ball game for the Marlins. Christian Yelich in the first. Our Warren Henry drive of the game, sending Dexter Fowler out to the ivy. And it's Yelich who leads it off here in the 3rd. And Yelich hits a high fly ball, left field line. Coughlin is over. And Chris Coughlin makes the catch.
This is certainly a place that has suited Christian Yelich, though. With that out, 13 for 30. It's about a .425 average at Wrigley Field with 3 home runs with the one he hit earlier.
Now Echeverria, he flied to Coughlin back in the 1st. It really is a nice look in the outfield now. You look at the new bleachers. They kind of blend in. That center field section Still the same ones as last year, but as you go out into right and to left, they've extended the bleachers up. You can see how high they go up now.
Yeah, a little bit higher.
Those are the rooftop seats, which are across the street. There's that scoreboard in left atop the new bleachers. Echeverria off the end of the bat. Denorfia makes the catch. As Tommy and I talked about, they've done a really nice job with the scoreboards of not making them obtrusive. A green background that blends in, gives it an older time feel.
You know, I think another thing nice, Rich, is that they've maintained the old original scoreboard out in center field with the clock, with all the banners, with the flag.
It's always an eye test for us here in the press box, though, to figure out the out-of-town scores on that. You can see the count and the outs and the clock. But I have a hard time finding out that the Rays are in New York to take on the Yankees. I don't have a zoom lens. Sorry.
Well, fortunately right now this is the only game on tap. Everything else a little later on.
Justin Bour infield hit back in the first. And a 1-1 count from Jason Hamill. Cubs infield, Tommy, is pretty stationary. Not a big shift. No sunglasses yet for Addison Russell, who lost one in the sun.
No, we've seen a few teams put on the full shift with Justin Bour, but not the Cubs. And ironically, against a team who, managed by Joe Madden, shifts a lot.
The godfather of the shift.
Yeah.
Carrying that computer around when he was on Mike Scioscia's staff. That's when Madden first really started to compile numbers and think about moving defenders.
Think about the number of games he's seen. He was the Rays manager for 9 years. He was a minor league manager for 7 years. And he was 10 or so years on that coaching staff of Mike Scioscia's.
Bour takes in the dirt.
So he's compiled a lot of data.
He's enjoyed his stay here in Chicago, and the Cub fans, from all that we hear, absolutely love him. And when you're 7 over after a long run of losing, what's not to like? Bour pops that one up. Russell along with Herrera.
Let the guy with the glasses take it.
Yeah, and it's Herrera that makes the catch. Miami down in order. Hamill's retired 6 straight. Fan, you've got to get DirecTV. 1-800-DirecTV. Live look into Wrigley Field. You can see the bleachers from above. They've expanded the outfield look. The scoreboards actually jut out over the streets a bit, which are beyond the confines. The TV trucks are being moved. You see where that white tent is behind home plate outside? There's one of them out there. And then again behind home plate. Cubs are planning on building a large 5-story executive office building. So the Cubs offices are going to have a spot. They're going to move some parking around, expanding and enhancing the Wrigley experience. Russell couldn't check his swing, and the count, a ball and a strike. Addison Russell, Dexter Fowler, Anthony Rizzo. Russell hits a high fly ball, and it's Ichiro taken to his knees by the sun, but he makes the catch. So the sun is certainly ferocious out there for everybody.
That's why we talked a few days ago, Rich, about this trip coming to Wrigley Field. Obviously seeing some of the nice new changes, and then we'll move on to Fenway Park, where they've made some nice changes.
I know that Theo Epstein is more of an architect with the team on the field, but Epstein was with the Red Sox when they redesigned, renovated Fenway. Out to right. This time it's Gillespie, and he makes the catch. Marlins Park offers a variety of suites located behind home plate and along the first baseline that can be rented for just one game. Suites accommodate groups from 16 to 70 guests, offer upscale contemporary furnishings, feature great food and beverage options. 1-877-MARLINS or go to marlins.com. You might want to think about a suite for one night. The next time the Marlins are home, that Thursday game against the Reds, it's a Jose Fernandez start.
Might want to mark that one down.
Just a suggestion. Here's Rizzo. So I think if the Cubs can pull off what the Red Sox did with Fenway, everybody here will be thrilled. Keep the nostalgia along with the modern day amenities, concourses, and niceties.
I mean, there are still a few seats, and there are at Fenway, too, that are going to be behind some poles. Maybe not have the greatest of angle to the field, but when you come to Wrigley Field or Fenway Park, you expect that. There you go.
That's part of the charm.
Tom Kohler, by the way, trying to just continue on as he loses Rizzo there. Continue on what he did in the month of June. 4 starts, a 3-1 record, and a .293 earned run average in June. Remember, too, we talked about Rizzo, who just drew that walk. 12 stolen bases. So you have to be careful. Keep your eye on him.
Bryant has that classic uppercut swing.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Trying to think of a right-handed hitter who has a similar swing, that swing pattern where that back shoulder drops a little bit.
The other thing about Bryant, he's kind of that blend. He's young enough in his career yet, but I mean, he struck out 90 times, but he's walked 40 times, so a good on-base percentage.
Throw to first. You know, the only guy I can come up with, and they're totally different players, but their swing patterns are similar, is Ken Griffey Jr. from the other side of the plate. That logo on the Nike Swingman Griffey stuff with the uppercut swing. Counts 1-2.
Couple of good pitches. Looked like Rizzo bluffed as Tom Kohler delivered that pitch to Bryant to get the strike. There's that uppercut swing.
That is strike 3 called. Kohler with a fastball. Bryant caught looking. Tom Kohler looks sharp here in Chicago. It's Marlins, it's Cubs, and it's 1-1. And so is Jessica Blaylock.
Yeah, JT Realmuto has really hit his stride at the plate as of late, but that was not the case in the series against both the Reds and the Cardinals. JT really struggled in those outings. He was 2 for 19 at the plate, but if you take a look at his numbers against both the Dodgers and the Giants, 8 for 13 during that stretch, and JT said a big reason why is because he's really been working hard with hitting coach Frank Menechino. He said in particular it's been all about slowing down the game, really simplifying him, and there's also been an emphasis on JT trying to go oppo. But either way, Rich and Tommy, whatever he is working on, it has certainly helped. JT has really given this team some quality at bats as of late.
How about that, Rich? Jess just dropped an oppo.
She did. How about that? Here's the 0-1 to Realmuto. Hey, Jess.
Yes.
First trip to Wrigley Field for you?
This is my first trip, and I am loving it so far. From the music to the ivy on the field as well. A couple of players talked about that. I got a glimpse of Wrigleyville earlier today. It's beautiful weather. It's day baseball. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and a real nice touch down the right field line. There is a huge barbecue going on one of the rooftop. Go up from that foul pole. Up on the roof, there you go. That barbecue is wafting into the ballpark, and we can smell the burgers and whatever else they got on the grill. Maybe those two guys that are big fans of Coach Ditka are barbecuing some beef.
Some sausage.
There you go.
By the way, all of a sudden, Jason Hamill has put things together after he gave up a couple of hits, the home run in that first inning.
Miguel Rojas now. Cole Gillespie to follow. Yeah, Hamill, for whatever reason, in that first inning seemed unsure of himself. Rojas punches it into right center. Fowler in pursuit. And usually when Dexter Fowler is in pursuit, he catches up.
Covers a lot of ground. Switch hitter. Former Rocky. He's been a nice fit for the Chicago Cubs.
Cole Gillespie, base hit back in the second. Marcell Ozuna getting a day off just to clear his mind. Ozuna on a 1 for 29 skid.
Yeah, it's been a tough stretch for Ozuna, but you look for him to come out of it, and when he does, he'll be a big part of the lineup.
A strike there. The hope for the Marlins is that Michael Morse is able to rejoin the team this weekend and start to swing it a little bit and add some pop. In the absence of Giancarlo Stanton, Justin Bour has shouldered that load and done it quite well in the last few games.
I would say if all goes well in the rehab start for Jupiter that Michael Morse is going to have, I would say if all goes well in the start he has, that we could see him this weekend.
To right, that's DeNorfia out there, and he'll make the catch. The infamous Bean in Chicago. HH Greg, top brands, low prices, fast delivery. Greg's got it. And by Checkers, mix and match our famous Big Buford and Big Chicken Deluxe. Get 2 for $5. Checkers, it's in the bag. Fourth of July weekend in Chicago. And it looks like a full house, not only in Wrigley, but beyond Wrigley. The rooftop seats are still a part of Wrigley Field, though not as prominent as before. There aren't as many because of, you see the Beyond the Ivy, 460. That's one of the areas that Craig used to often visit when he was here. Our fantasy auction winner for the road trip with the Marlins is Robert Koppelman, and he's here enjoying the road trip at Wrigley Field. And he'll be up in the rooftop seats on Sunday, and Jessica will be paying him a visit.
You and I had a chance to talk to Robert before the game up here in our booth. He was able to see the beautiful, spacious booth we have here at Wrigley.
Tom Kohler misses in to Miguel Montero, Cub catcher. Chris DeNorfia, Chris Coughlin to follow. Breaking ball, pulled foul. Tom Kohler, as Tommy documented, a terrific June. Was 3-1, an ERA of under 3. He did not face the Cubs when they came through South Florida. Chopper to first, Bour with Kohler over. Nice flip and the first out, the bottom of the fourth. Now tomorrow night, the game is on Big Fox. And on Sunday, South Florida Honda dealers get you ready for Marlins Live. Craig Minervini, Preston Wilson. Meet the draft picks. 2015 Major League Baseball drafts. Matt Latos, Kyle Hendricks is your pitching matchup on Sunday.
Yeah, I believe our good friends Matt Veskurzian and John Smoltz will be covering the game tomorrow night.
J.P. Morosi as well, who was our guest on Marlins Live. Foul ball is back. Now, news yesterday, the Marlins have signed Josh Naylor, the big Canadian bat, 225-pound, with lots of power. Still waiting to turn 18. 30 of the 40 draftees have signed, and the top 15 have all signed for the Marlins. So that's good news and a good sign. They'll all get off to their different minor league locations and start their professional careers.
As has a brother of Marlins left fielder, Christian Yelich.
Up the middle by Kohler into center. Chris Denorfia has a hit.
Christian Yelich's brother, Colin, a catcher, was drafted by the Braves. So he has started his minor league career at the very lowest level. He's played 5 games so far, so I'm sure Christian will stay in touch with him and keep us posted.
Played some college ball at Sam Houston State. One out hit by Denorfia. And here is Coghlan. Last year, Coghlan played in 125 games. Hit 283, on base at a 352 clip and a 452 slugging percentage. And for Coghlan, that had to be especially sweet with all the injuries that he's had. He had a calf injury that knocked him out of most of 13. Remember, he had that left knee injury in 2011 in that freak accident, celebrating after a ball game. I believe it was a Wes Helms walk-off hit.
Who would have thought, Rich, with all those injuries that Cogs has gone through, that right now he would hold the longest streak of games played at 141 consecutive games.
That's a testament to his perseverance. And he skies that one out into left center. Yelich using his glasses and his glove to shade the sun. Coghlan is out. 2 outs. Jonathan Herrera coming up. The All-Star selections, the All-Star starters will be announced on Sunday. The Esurance All-Star Selection Show, that's on ESPN. Reserves will be announced on Monday. And just to clear, everyone always asks, well, how exactly do guys get named? Of course, the fans will vote the starters. Next up are the players. The players will elect 9 backup position players, including a DH, 8 National League backup position players, and 8 pitchers for both sides. So the players name 8 pitchers, 5 starters, 3 relievers. Then the All-Star manager gets his shot. So I think it's significant to remember that while fans vote the position starters, the players name the first 8 pitchers on the team. Managers fill out the rest of their roster. The American League manager has 7 selections. The National League manager picks 9 players.
So as you pointed out the other day, we were talking about Bruce Bochy with the Giants in town. They've kind of taken a little bit of the pressure off the manager by not having to name and pick so many.
Herrera fouls it off. Of course, the manager is saddled with the fact that he's got to make sure everybody is represented. So after the fans and the players have their say, a manager then has to, it's not like the manager says, well, I want this guy, this guy, this guy. He has to look and say, all right, there's not a Minnesota Twin.
You got to get a Brewer on this team.
Need a Mariner. Need a Rocky. Hit hard into right field. That one by Bohr. Picking it up as Etro around second to Norfia. He'll make it to third. Jonathan Herrera with a single. It's the 4th hit off of Tom Kohler.
In this ballpark with the thick grass, it's not as spacious as Coors Field or as Marlins Park, but because the grass is thick, by the time the ball gets to an outfielder, runners have a good opportunity to go first to third. So you'll see a lot of that here at Wrigley Field. There's a great shot there of Denorfia going from first to third on that base hit into right field.
It's our DirecTV blimp, Tommy. We have a lot of toys at our disposal. We have a blimp. We have a telestrator as well. Here's Jason Hamill, and he pulls it to third. Rojas across the diamond in time. Kohler gets through the 4th. Onward, upward to the blimp. It's 1-1. And the Rays are going to be in the Bronx, take on the Yankees. It's a game you can only see on Fox Sports 1. It starts at 12:30 Eastern, 7 Eastern. Baseball night in America, Marlins and Cubs. Your game this week. Check your local Fox station all this week on your home for baseball every Saturday. Fox and Fox Sports 1. 1-1, Marlins and Cubs.
Rich, I think you and I, in some city, need to do a segment on a Segway.
Well, they're doing an entire game, not just a segment, out under the new scoreboard. And that's our good friend Len Casper and Jim DeShays. They're from the Wrigley Field bleachers. Now, the bleachers have been open, different sections, for about a month. But today's kind of the grand opening, so to speak.
There they are.
The christening, if you will, with Len and Jim. Ichiro swings and misses. Len was trying to figure out what the home run call would be if the ball was hit right at him.
Possibly incoming.
Not sure where the 7th inning singer is going to sing "Take Me Out to the Ballgame" from. Ichiro now lines it foul. Ichiro is 0 for his last 21. That is 4 shy of his longest 0 for.
I think today the "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" 7th inning is just going to be a video of the late Harry Caray.
Yes, but
done the right way.
I've just been handed a note, Tommy.
Just in.
This just in.
You have.
I do. I literally have a note right here in my hand. I don't know if you can see this from out in center field, your center field cameras. I have a note. A missive
that was just handed
to me by Cubs executives who've scurried through the press box. Ichiro fouls it off. This is
what
the note.
Does that note say?
This note says, 7th inning stretch, guest conductor, toast from the Budweiser bleachers, Ryan Dempster. There you go.
All right.
Now, how cool is that? It's got a nice Marlin and Cub connection. That one's going to land in the glove of Jonathan Herrera. The struggles for Ichiro
Actually,
continue.
Ryan Dempster could do his best Harry Carey impersonation,
Yeah,
too.
I think that's coming. I think that's coming. Let's take a look, shall we, at our Geico Major League moments. On this date in 2006, a first when Barry Bonds, Steve Finley, and Moise Alou became the first all 40 starting outfield. No, that was not the number of home runs they had hit. It was their age. 2006, all of those guys above 40 in the same outfield. Kohler shoots a ground ball Anthony Rizzo's way, and he'll pick it up. 2 outs, D. Gordon coming up.
Yeah, Tom Kohler will take his time. D. Gordon will take a little extra time.
So as a hitter, do you take a pitch or you try to ambush him?
You really can go either way. If you're D. Gordon, you probably take a pitch. If you're a home run hitter, maybe you try to ambush him.
By ambushing, that is act like you're nonchalant and then jump on that fastball if it comes down the chute.
D was taken all the way.
And Hamill was thinking that way too. He flipped up a breaking ball. 1-0. Gordon's 0 for 2.
And I actually thought that's what the Giants did pretty well in the first inning yesterday against Jose. They ambushed some fastballs. He was trying to establish his game plan. Really didn't get settled in with other pitches. A couple of the base hits weren't hit all that hard. And then once Jose settled down, the Giants didn't have a chance.
Gordon fouls it back and out of play. The Cubs, 42 and 35. They're 7 over, yet they're 8.5 back. And that's with St. Louis having lost 3 in a row, believe it or not. The Cardinals are still 51 and 27. Having lost 3, Pittsburgh has picked up 3 games. They are 6 back. That one fouled back to the screen. J.P. Morosi, our guest on Marlins Live before the game, talked about how hyper-competitive this National League Central is with those 3 teams, Cardinals, Pirates, Cubs, especially now that New York has fallen back to 500 in the East and Arizona's 3 under in the West. The Giants lost 2.5 games in the standings by getting swept while they were in Miami. San Francisco is in D.C. tonight to open up a series against the Nationals. Gordon floats that one to left. Coughlin there makes the catch. Jason Hamill has been really, really good. And he's retired 12 straight in a 1-1 game. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DIRECTV. You see the construction just to the outside of that third base line here in Chicago. I love the fact that our telestrator is not in the booth. We have a mystery telestrator in this one. It's not under the control of Tommy Hutton.
So far, I approve, though.
That's not the guy either. Yeah, you never want to sit with your little brother, do you? Addison Russell. Dexter Fowler, Anthony Rizzo will follow. It's bottom 5. It's 1-1. Jason Hamill, Tom Kohler. And Kohler gets strike 2 on a foul ball.
It's only fitting, Rich, and we've talked about it. We talked about it when the Cubs were in Miami in early June, how evenly matched these two teams have been over the years.
Oh, he threw it back.
Can't do that.
I can't believe it.
But the Marlins and Cubs are 45 and 45 here at Wrigley.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's all right. That was a good moment from the stands.
I didn't expect the kid to throw it back. Wow, that one right back up the box. And Russell has a hit, so a leadoff single. Let's go back and watch the scene that unfolds every now and then. Dad's got the ball. Son, there you go. Way to go.
Your first one.
And Dad's going, yep, I did it. Oh.
Well, see, you can't blame the youngster because he's been seeing fans at Wrigley Field. When they get a home run ball, he's been seeing them throw it back.
So he's a true Cub fan.
So that's what he thought. Get a ball, you throw it back.
That's right. And then get a beer. That's in the bleachers. And obviously not for that kid. 20 years later. Dexter Fowler in the leadoff spot. Well, this is kind of what Joe Madden envisions by hitting the pitcher in the 8th spot. Once the pitcher makes an out, he's got Fowler in the leadoff spot and then Rizzo hitting second. So Rizzo's due up third. Russell's on and a strike from Kohler. You can accelerate your lineup that way. Once the pitcher clears, you've got a speed guy like Russell in the 9 spot. And a lot of times, and I probably was Tony La Russa first with Mark McGwire, and then with Albert Pujols. Joe Madden said in the offseason he spent time talking to Tony La Russa and talking about hitting the pitcher in the 8th spot and why he did it, just picking his brain. Madden, a guy that likes to ruminate over all different kinds of theories and ideas. Fowler swings and misses.
Good
strikeout for Kohler. So an out here in the 5th. A Corona Light watch party is a fun place to be. And on Wednesday, the Marlins are in Fenway, and you could be at the watch party. Sports Grill Sunset. 7:10 start. Philly, Energy Team, Corona Light specials, Madcap fun. Go to Marlins.com. Rizzo poised at the plate. We check in with Jessica Blaylock. Jess?
You guys talked about how good Anthony Rizzo has been for the Cubs so far this season. He leads the team in almost every offensive statistical category, including home runs and RBIs. And manager Joe Madden has taken notice. He has called Rizzo's performance so far one of the most impressive first halves of baseball that he has ever seen as a manager. Says it's amazing to see what Rizzo has done at the plate so far this year.
Yeah, Jess, and the on-base percentage is over 400. The slugging percentage is in the mid-5s. The average slugging percentage right now in the National League is about 390. When you get up over the low 400s, you're having a nice year, mid-400s. Rizzo up in the mid-500s and now hit by a pitch We talked about it. He stands right up on the plate. Pitchers then try to pitch him inside. And it's kind of battle of wills between the hitter and the pitcher at that point.
And if you're Anthony Rizzo, you certainly have to expect that. You see most in the major leagues, 16 hit by pitches.
And Kohler obviously is not throwing at him with the runner at first in a 1-1 game and 1 out in the 5th inning. Not that that makes it hurt any less. Rizzo takes his bag. Here's a look. It's a back leg breaking ball that clipped the back leg. And so a dangerous spot here for Tom Kohler. You've got Chris Bryant, who was doubled and struck out, and runners first and second. Kohler misses away.
It's interesting because of that swing that we talked about last time at bat for Chris Bryant. Not a whole lot of ground balls. He's only grounded into 2 double plays.
Ball and a strike.
So you're right. Tom Kohler has his work cut out for him.
Another Las Vegas guy. Joey Gallo, Bryce Harper, Chris Bryant, all spent time with each other. Youth baseball. High fly ball to right. Ichiro over, battling the sun. Makes the catch. Look at that. Sliding on 2 knees to make the catch. He was approaching the bullpen mound. Whether he slid to avoid that or slid just because he was having trouble finding the ball, you're not quite sure, but watch this.
Yeah, I think he got down just because he was having a little trouble picking it up. But also, you talked about the sun, a little breeze, the brightness. You have that bullpen mound. You talk about every time we come to Wrigley, left fielders, right fielders have that to deal with, too.
A nice play by Ichiro. Now Montero, who drove in the only run for the Cubs with a single back in the first. D. Gordon short hops it. Hello, that saves a run. Nifty play by Gordon. Montero is out, and Tom Kohler is out of the 5th as well. To the 6th inning at Wrigley. That's a sweet pick by Flash Jr. Base. Run save leader among second base. Remember this one, he came all the way from Mississauga to make this catch in Toronto.
We've tried to figure out how much ground he covered while making that grab. Well, you know what? We were able to figure it out thanks to Fox Vision. Look at that. 70, 80, 90, 100. 136 feet to get over into foul territory and make that catch in Toronto.
41.6 meters converted.
We're trying to figure out in meters, yeah.
since it was Canada. Well, it's been a fun ball game, even though it's 1-1. A lot of things going on. Marlins, Cubs, the whole Wrigley experience. Our first look at the renovations out in the bleachers with the scoreboards. D. Gordon, a lot of the guys that have been in here, normally you see the guys that have never been here pop out of the dugout first to look around. But a lot of the guys that have been coming here for a while popped out to see the new scoreboards, see the new bleachers. Christian Yelich takes a strike. Yelich, Danny Echeverria, Justin Bour against Jason Hamill in the 6th.
I think right now the Marlins just trying to break the stretch that Hamill has going, retiring 12 straight.
Yelich fouls it back. Well, Yelich homered back in the 1st. It was a breaking ball, and he hit it out just to the left of straightaway center. That pitch is in.
For Yelich, his 5th home run of the year and his 3rd career home run here at Wrigley Field.
Foul back. It still is odd to look up and be able to look at pitch speed, pitch count, advanced numbers on players, lineups that sit up on one of the scoreboards. It really is a welcome addition to this great old park. Wrigley Field, built in 1914. This is the 102nd season of baseball here. We got the lineup. You see Yelich. Then over on left field, he's on base, is slugging. See Hamill's numbers. And then below that, look at that, Yelich with 2 strikes, 209 average. A swing and a miss. Hamill with a high fastball. Time now for you to tweet your strongest fan photo using hashtag FLDataStrongFan. You just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Echeverria takes in. Yeah, trouble ahead, trouble behind. Casey Jones, you better watch your speed. Echeverria is out at first. The Grateful Dead in concert at Soldier Field. This is a wild weekend. U2 played their last show in Chicago. They were here for a week, and that was last night at Soldier Field. The Grateful Dead will be playing. I haven't seen Bill Walton yet, but I suspect he's in town.
Oh, I would expect that too, yeah.
But lots of tie-dye on the streets of Chicago. Got the fireworks at Navy Pier tomorrow night. White Sox are home. Cubs and Marlins play a night game tomorrow. Justin Bour, right field, and deep, and gone! He did it again. 4 straight games for Justin Bour. And Miami has a 2-1 lead. And the native son comes back to bite the Cubs. Drafted by the Cubs. Left available in the minor leagues. The Marlins got him 2 years ago, and he's on quite a tear right now.
Middle, fastball. Justin Bour all over it, and I'll tell you what, Jason Hamill's reaction told the story. Justin Bour's 10th home run, and as you just said, 4 consecutive games now for Bour going deep. And they've all been in key situations.
And they've all been absolutely crushed. You know, he hasn't hit a no-doubter yet.
That one has to feel good for him.
He did come here last year and play in one game as a Marlin, but he never got to Wrigley Field as a Cub. And he had some good numbers in the minor leagues. It wasn't like this guy was not hitting. There's a bouncer to third. Bryant across in time to get Real Muto. But Justin Bour belts one again. His 10th of the season. Into the new bleachers. A new addition to the Marlins meets a new addition for the Cubs. 2-1. Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean, Crisp, Coors Light. Marlin rookies, homer streaks. Justin Bour at 4. Kurt Abbott did it in 1994.
I tell you what, Kurt Abbott's name has been showing up on a few lists. Inside the park home runs, remember, had 3.
Well, the Marlins have 2 outside the park home runs for their 2 runs here today. Christian Yelich, Justin Bour. Tom Kohler approaches Chris DeNorfia to start the bottom of the 6th.
Well, for Tom Kohler, remember 2 starts ago against the Yankees, 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. Last time out against the Dodgers and Clayton Kershaw, 7 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs. Dealing again today. One of the other things you always admire and just like about a pitcher, there aren't too many of them nowadays. Tom Kohler, since being drafted by the Marlins in 2008 and coming up through the minor leagues, has never been on the disabled list. So he has been steady. Takes the ball. Every once in a while, he gets shuttled to the bullpen. Doesn't argue. He turns up in the rotation again.
Speaking of bullpens, the Cubs is suddenly buzzing. Big swing by Chris DeNorfia. It's 3-2. Chris Coghlan, Jonathan Herrera, then the pitcher's spot. Two again. Left center, Yelich, a good jump, and he's there, and he makes the catch. It says hello to the Ivy.
That's the best way you want to say hello to the ivy, about 3 or 4 steps away.
This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. Now Chris Coghlan. Pair of fly ball outs for Coghlan.
You talked about how Coghlan's raised his batting average, and a lot of the same things that we talk about with Christian Yelich. And you look at Coghlan, 11 walks over the last 8 games. So they kind of coincide. He's seen the ball better, getting some base hits, average comes up.
Good changeup. It's 2-2. Toyota trend. Major League leaders, pitches per plate appearance. Cubs at the very top of the list. Anthony Rizzo, one of the best at that. Even Chris Bryant, as you pointed out. Good. Marlins at the very bottom. Not at the very bottom, but pretty darn close. Coghlan swings and misses. And strikes out. So Tom Kohler has 2 outs here in the 6th.
He's made some good pitches. The changeup all of a sudden is looking real good from Tom Kohler. So Kohler with 4 strikeouts in the game.
Chopper is foul. Justin Bour looking for a youngster, and he finds one.
And Marlins fans down there. Why not?
Nice work by Justin Bour. Hit a homer and make a friend. Slicing liner, Yelich in full flight, and it lands foul. That's a treacherous area for an outfielder. Down that left and right field line. There is some padding there, but not a lot.
Yeah, once you get into the corners, the foul line, there's about a foot between the foul line and that padded wall. There's not a whole lot of room. Herrera sliced that ball. There it is down the right field line. Maybe not even a foot. Herrera had a 2-run homer yesterday at Citi Field against the Mets.
Everybody else in baseball tonight. Pitches in. The Mets have headed west. They've got the Dodgers tonight.
So the Mets struggling to score runs. They have Noah Syndergaard on the mound, and they get to face Clayton Kershaw.
Herrera takes out. Told you the Nationals have the Giants. Elsewhere in the division, the Phillies are in Atlanta. Full count, Tom Kohler. Right now sitting at 90 pitches. Gordon, well to his left, cross the body throw, makes it flawlessly. And a 1-2-3-6 for Tom Kohler with some help from D. Gordon. From the DirecTV blip. Sweet look. Up 2-1 in the 7th. When the road trip ends, the Marlins come home to face the Cincinnati Reds. It's not a long trip. And next Thursday at Marlins Park, it's Jose Fernandez and the Fish taking on the Reds. It's a Jose start. Seniors 55 and older get a free ticket on Senior Free Ticket Thursdays, presented by Wellmax. Or visit your local South Florida Subway restaurant. Get a coupon for a $5 ticket. Go to Marlins.com. What a fun day it was yesterday. 32,598 to watch Jose Fernandez and Matt Cain go at each other. Marlins and Giants. Giants drew first blood with 2 in the first. Jose hung in there. He would go 6 innings, strike out 6, walk no one. And it was Jose's home run that sparked a 4-run 5th. Justin Bour homering a 3-run shot. Here today, as Miguel Rojas stands at the plate with a count 0-2. Christian Yelich homered in the first, and Bour homered again last inning. It's 2-1. Rojas sending one Steve Cishek's way. See Carter Capps standing next to Cishek. Capps is a guy that has worked a lot lately and in all likelihood not available unless an emergency today.
Yeah, he's worked, Carter Capps has worked 4 of the last 5 games.
And yesterday, Capps went an inning and a third. Really extended himself. 26 pitches. Buster Posey with a home run. Strike 3 called. Rojas goes down. Because the spot didn't come up, Hamill's able to come out and pitch the 7th.
Yeah, Hamill's pitch count a little bit less than Tom Koehler. Kohler's thrown 91. Hamill closing in on that. $41,212. Here at Wrigley Field. Gillespie singled back in the 2nd. You know, you think about it, another adjustment that the Marlins make when they go on the road, especially after a little bit of a homestand. Marlins playing all their games in a controlled environment with the roof closed at Marlins Park. But things are a little different. You have a breeze, you have the sunshine.
Gillespie left center, Fowler and Coughlin. Dexter Fowler makes a catch. Extraordinary moments happen every night in baseball. But on one night, they all happen in one place. Don't miss the 86th All-Star Game. Coverage starts 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on Tuesday, July 14th on Fox. Ichiro now 0 for 2 and 0 for his last 22. So by Ichiro standards, well overdue.
It just shows how tough this game can be at times. And you have the bunting ability that Ichiro has, the number of infield base hits that he gets with his speed, and he still is hitless in his last 22 at bats. If I remember, he had an at bat about midway through this streak where he hit a ball to deep short that would have been a base hit, but there was a runner at first, and the force was recorded at second base.
Getting ready out in the bleachers. Brian Dempster. Tom Ricketts, one of the owners. That little pop is into shallow right. Look out, a sliding catch. DeNorfia makes it. Jonathan Herrera gets out of the way. 7th inning stretch at Wrigley with the Marlins on top. Hey, let me hear you. Toast from Ryan Dempster, and then Harry Carey on the new scoreboard in left field. And Steve Cishek, the new Marlins pitcher, facing pinch hitter Matt Caesar to open up the bottom of the 7th. A 1-run lead for the Fish. And Cishek, who seems to be regaining some of that confidence and effectiveness. Caesar a swing and a miss. Cishek going home to Boston. Massachusetts guy. Marlins and Red Sox on Tuesday and Wednesday.
You know, seeing that video clip of the late Harry Carey singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," I remember reading this offseason there was some discussion that maybe the Cubs would just stay with that all the time, as opposed to, you know, having a quote-unquote celebrity, not always from the A-list, singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." I think I like the video.
I like the video, but I also like an occasional guest.
I think I like the occasional guest if I know they're truly a Cubs fan, instead of somebody that's just getting a chance to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Well, any fan that says a 1, a 2, and by the way, I'm in a new movie that opens next week, then start singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," then you know there's a little something. Maybe not a true Cubs fan.
Or when they step up and they say, "Welcome to Wrigley Stadium."
Heard that. Steve Cishek has an out. Addison Russell in the 9 spot. Tom Kohler, terrific. And that backs up his really nice starts and wins over the Yankees and the Dodgers. Slow tapper, Echeverria on one knee gets the out. Creative
because I think he slipped a little bit as he started to dig out this ball.
Not a lot of action for Echeverria in this ball game.
This shows how creative he is. He comes to get it. A little slippage, and from his knees, he's able to make the play.
In fact, that's the first ground ball he's had all day.
Yeah, it is.
How often do you get to the bottom of the seventh and the shortstop hasn't touched it? Now Dexter Fowler.
If, in fact, Rich, with the conversation you had with Dan Jennings about Carter Capps, if, in fact, he is off limits, then he'll have to figure out who he wants to use for the eighth inning. Don't rule out Steve Cishek if he has an easy seventh inning.
And whoever, as you see, the Cubs have a pair of arms ready. Whoever gets that eighth inning for the Marlins, if this one ends here, is going to get the biggest bats.
Well, we will rule out another inning because Cishek's spot comes up first in the eighth inning. See how quickly we ruled that out?
It's a ruling that just came down. Steve Cishek looking sharp. Fowler's 0 for 3. Cubs themselves don't have a lot of hits, just 5. Marlins have 4 hits, but 2 are home runs. Tapper, Gordon, quickly to first in time to get Fowler. 1, 2, 3. Go the Cubs. Steve Cishek looks sharp to the 8th with Miami up 2-1.
Pretty cut and dry for this one. A home run from Christian Yelich early on. First inning, Marlins had a 1-0 lead. Cubs came back and tied it in their half of the first. A base hit by Miguel Montero. 1-1 game until Justin Bour stepped in. 4 consecutive games now with a home run for the big first baseman. That's number 10 on the year against the team that he came up with in the minor leagues.
Hey, Doc is here. Marty! Doc Brown. There's Marty. Biff is right next door. Hello, McFly. 2-1. Sorry. Marlins on top. James Russell is the new pitcher. Jeff Baker will pinch hit for the Marlins. Russell out of the Cubs pen has had a nice year. An ERA of under 2. His 30th appearance. The Marlins had their Back to the Future celebration, so to speak, in Miami when the Cubs were in late May, early June. Of course, the 2 cities linked in the Back to the Future 2 episode when, I don't know if it was Doc or Marty had the sporting page that proclaimed, and it was from the future, that the Cubs would win the World Series against a Miami team from the American League. Was it in 9 games as well?
Yeah, they went back a long way, the way they used to play the World Series.
Oh, and 2 quickly on Jeff Baker. Baker, Gordon, Yelich, and Baker strikes out. Chevron presents tomorrow's starters on Fox. Jared Cozart for the Fish. Cozart rejoins the rotation. Don Roach gets the start for the Cubs. And a reminder again, 7 Eastern on Fox. We'll be back with you on Sunday to bring you the final game of the series. And then Tuesday night and Wednesday night in Boston.
How about having email Twitter Tuesday from Fenway Park?
Should be fun. Matt Latos on Sunday. Gordon dances away from the fastball.
Now this is Jessica's first trip to Wrigley. How about Fenway Park?
I don't think so. I think and she'll be a good person to, on Wednesday night, get her to compare, contrast.
I've been to Fenway multiple times. I've actually been to Fenway probably 4 or 5 times. So yeah, a Fenway veteran, but new to Wrigley. So it'll definitely be interesting with these being such historic ballparks to kind of compare and contrast Chicago and Boston.
That is, Jessica, if you make it through Monday, the off day.
Hey, that's a great call. An off day in Boston. Yeah, I'll be lucky if I make it to the game on Tuesday.
Yeah. All right, here's Yelich. Dynamics have changed here. D. Gordon with a base hit. Speed at first. Yelich at the plate. And the lefty, James Russell, over to first.
Well, D's done a great job all year hitting left-handers, and it's only fitting that he gets his first base hit today against the left-handed throwing James Russell.
Another throw over. Yelich's numbers against lefties have improved. And a big step forward was his work against Clayton Kershaw. Remember, he had 4 hits against lefties. Sam Dyson in Miami's bullpen. Gordon is running. Good jump. And the throw not nearly in time. You got the hand and then the foot onto the bag and holds on for a stolen base.
Well, it was a good jump. You also saw Montero just took him a little extra time to get rid of this ball. But there's the great jump by D. Gordon. Keep everything on the bag. The hand gets there, but you got to keep the knee, the leg, the foot. As infielders now are just instructed, just keep that tag on the whole time.
Now Montero is out to talk to Russell. It may be to A, change the signs a bit, and B, buy the Cubs a few more seconds to look at that on replay to see if Gordon came off the bag.
Or C, don't let him steal third. Keep your eye on him.
Maybe he accomplished all 3 while out there. So now Yelich with the count 1-0. And Yelich takes up and in. You know, it's interesting. In a spot like this, a week ago, with Stanton coming up, you would think to yourself, you know, if you're Gordon, you don't really want to think about stealing third. Stanton's coming up, but he's not coming up. And so the Marlins have had to be, and they've done a nice job of being a little more resourceful offensively without Stanton in the lineup.
Well, we mentioned that the other night in the 9th inning. And who came up? Justin Bour. And what did he do? He hit a 3-run walk-off home run.
Russell not trusting that Gordon is going to stay anchored at second. One out. D. Gordon in scoring position. Bour, a couple hitters away. He's got a good lead. And he almost ran. He started. Yelich pops it foul and out of play. And Gordon right now is saying to himself, when you can get a little bit of movement before the pitch, that's when you really get the good jump.
Not too many runners will bluff stealing third. You see it more often at first. Of course, the catcher has a little easier view with the left-handed hitter up there.
Yelich takes out. Crowd didn't like it. And Yelich, as usual, is right on it. Full count. Echeverria's on deck. Got a righty and a lefty up in the Cubs' pen. I guess if you're thinking ahead, if you're Joe Madden, Bour is 2 hitters away, but Echeverria hits lefties quite well.
Yeah, so do you really want to burn 3 pitchers in 1 inning, which in fact he might do? You never know.
Yelich homered in the first. Gordon at second. Sellout crowd, over 41,000 here in Chicago. Travis Wood, former starter, is the lefty that's up. Yelich hanging tough. Full count, 3-2. Swing and a miss. Runner goes. Throw not in time. Gordon steals it. Yelich strikes out. And there are 2 outs. So a pair of stolen bases for D. Gordon. Here comes Echeverria.
You could tell that he was itching to go a couple of times. Got a big jump. You hope, and I don't think in the case of Christian Yelich, you would hope that doesn't bother. Some hitters get a little annoyed, a little bothered at a runner, especially when you have 2 strikes on you.
Joe Madden is out talking to Greg Gibson, and Madden, I expect, is asking for a little time to look at the replay again to see if Gordon came off the bag, and then he's going to go out and change pitchers. So he had 2 objectives in mind on that visit. And he is indeed going to get a right-hander to face Echeverria. Here's a look.
To me, that almost gets nitpicky with replay if you start going that far.
I don't think the tag was on him until the elbow was back on. You're right. It's one of the nuances of replay.
Enough's enough when it gets to that. That's my opinion.
It's all right. It's an early 4th of July firework there. Wes Kendall Toyota called to the pen. One ball game, 2 outs, top 8. Adeiny Echeverria, the hitter. Neil Ramirez in for the Cubs with D. Gordon at third. First pitch breaking ball is up. And it's 1-0. Ramirez, the second out of the pen for Joe Madden.
Just making his 7th appearance, but you can see dazzling numbers from Ramirez.
Another breaking ball, and he's in there possibly just for one hitter. If he doesn't get Echeverria, I doubt that he's going to face Bohr. Travis Wood, the lefty, is ready in the bullpen.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Joe Madden wouldn't have Travis Wood up if he wasn't planning on doing that.
Ramirez has been on the disabled list for a while. He just came off at the end of June. Last year as a rookie reliever, had a really nice season. It's 3-0 to Echeverria. Rides a fastball in there for a strike. Well, 90 feet away is a rather large insurance run. Ramirez, another Virginia product.
Yeah, anytime you can give that bullpen a little breather. After missing and falling behind with some breaking balls, Ramirez throwing a couple of pretty good fastballs.
Yeah, anytime you keep it out of the middle of that box and put it right on the borders, those are great pitches. Check swing on a breaking ball, and Echeverria walks, and expect to see Joe Madden shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show Joe Madden. And another Wes Kendall Toyota call to the bullpen. A little Led Zeppelin taking us to break here in Chicago.
Joe Madden will love it.
Still the 8th. Time now for you to tweet your strongest fan photo, FL Data Strong Fan. And you just might see yourself in an upcoming telecast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. Hashtag it FL Data Strong Fan. Third pitcher for the third batter. Yelich faced James Russell, Echeverria, Neil Ramirez. Now it's Travis Wood to face Justin Bohr. And a pitch that's out sends D. Gordon hurrying back to third with speed at the corners. Echeverria at first, Gordon's at third, and Bohr, who homered in the 6th, up there now.
You might see Echeverria take off. Because both Russell at short and Herrera at second. Well back, and I don't think there'd be a play at second base. The left-hander's going to keep etching check a little bit. All of a sudden, he can't throw a strike.
And Travis Wood has gone 3-0 on 4. All that Joe Madden has done to get the right matchup here hasn't really helped.
Well, it's part of the game that obviously we see nowadays, but it's one of those little parts of the game that bugs me. In the case of Anil Ramirez, he comes in to face one guy. There's no sense of urgency to get that guy out because he knows if he doesn't, they'll go to the bullpen and bring a lefty in to face a lefty. And the lefty can't get the lefty out.
And now the bags are loaded, and so what's left, and when Joe Madden started this whole operation, he didn't imagine that he'd have Travis Wood in there to face JT Real Muto with the bags loaded.
And he's running out of pitchers to get another right-hander up to face Real Muto. You can see the disgusted look on Joe Madden. Right now, he needs a magician on the mound. He had one in the clubhouse the other day to lighten up things for the Cubs.
So the bags are filled with fish, and here's Real Muto. And Wood with a breaking ball misses in. And the Cub fans, 41,000 strong, are starting to grumble. Chris Bosio, the pitching coach of the Cubs, is on his way out to the mound. Well, the inning started with James Russell coming out of the pen. See Bosio. He struck out the initial hitter of the inning. And then D. Gordon singled. Gordon stole second. Christian Yelich struck out. Gordon stole third. Then it was Neil Ramirez who walked Echeverria. Travis Wood walked Justin Bour. Jeff Baker, the first hitter who faced James Russell. So it's Wood with a count 1-0. And he bounces one up there. And it's 2-0.
Boy, here's a situation where you, as a hitter, all right, you know you're going to get a fastball, but do you take one all the way to make him throw strikes? Or do you, because you know you're going to get a fastball, try to jump on it?
He tried to jump on it.
Not sure if it was the perfect pitch to hit either.
Count 2-1. And Real Muto pops it up. Russell and Bryant. It's Russell who calls, and he and Bryant collide, and it drops. Bryant had the sunglasses on. Remember, Russell lost one without glasses early in the game. It looked like Bryant was settled and ready to make the catch.
This is one of those where you always say, well, the shortstop has a better angle. However, Bryant was camped under it, ready to make the play, and Russell still doesn't have his glasses on. I doubt that affected it. It actually ticked off the glove of Bryant.
Watching Russell, I never saw his mouth move.
They're going to charge an error to Addison Russell, the shortstop.
The count's 2-2 to Real Muto. Pitches in. Count is full. Runners will move. Gordon from third. Echeverria from second. Bour from first. Real Muto fights it off.
Pretty good idea. He's going to continue to get fastballs from Travis Wood. But you can see he's been all over the place with his control.
Another 3-2, bags loaded, 2 outs. Another fastball. Well, he's seen a lot of pitches here. Wood was in the Cubs rotation for some time. Now finds himself in the bullpen. Another 3-2. Another foul ball.
It's a good battle. JT Realmuto trying to zone in and zero in on one of those fastballs.
Does Wood dare throw a breaking ball? He's thrown one in this at-bat.
If he does, it'll be a great pitch for him if he throws it for a strike. But you have to be ready for the fastball.
Ninth pitch of the at-bat. And he got him. Fastball, Realmuto strikes out. Miami leaves the bags loaded. But hangs on to the lead, 2-1. Fish. Bat, and finally Travis Wood got it by him. MLB.TV, #1 live streaming sports service. Celebrating 13 years, you get out-of-market regular season games, all of them on demand, true HD, real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widgets. Visit MLB.TV for details.
With Sam Dyson on the mound, I'm just going to reflect back to the at-bat that JT Realmuto had. It's got to be one of the toughest things for, number one, a young player, a young catcher, because now, 2-1 game, he's got to get back in the mode of handling a different pitcher, Sam Dyson out there, and forget about the at-bat that he just had. If you're an outfielder, you see outfielders out there thinking about their previous AB. You just can't do that as a catcher.
Anthony Rizzo pops it shallow center. Gillespie finds it in the sun and makes the catch. Are you as surprised as I am that Addison Russell still doesn't have sunglasses out there at short?
There must be a reason. There are actually guys who don't feel comfortable wearing the flip downs, but a lot of guys don't wear those anymore. They just wear regular sunglasses. Yes, I am. I'm surprised his manager or one of his coaches hasn't talked to him about it.
It seems like he's lost 2 balls in that sun, and even though it hasn't cost the Cubs, there's still got to be an uneasy feeling out there. This is Chris Bryant. He's doubled in 3 trips. Sam Dyson trying to build the bridge to the ninth and get to A.J. Ramos. And this is a case where it's Dyson in the eighth. If he does his job, he'll face the teeth of the Cubs' order. Miguel Montero's on deck. Jason Mott, Justin Grimm in the Cubs pen. Dyson falls behind 3-0 to Chris Bryant. 10 homers. Very productive. He's driven in 43.
And I would imagine a green light.
That's a great shot. It's out. And Bryant is aboard. A 1-out walk. Now Montero, who swung the bat well, he's got an RBI single and a couple other hard smashes. Chuck Hernandez. Mike Dunn starts to throw in the Marlins pen. To first and foul.
This is a guy, if he hits ground ball, you can't turn a double play. Montero doesn't run that well.
When Sam Dyson is on, that's what he does best. Get ground balls. Chris DeNorfia and then Chris Coghlan. That's how the lineup sets up for the Cubs. You know, one-run game. Chris Bryant at first. Dyson gets a strike.
Change up. Throw that change up away. You're hoping maybe he'll roll over on it and hit that ground ball. But you'll take the called strike. Especially when it's there.
Runner goes, swing and a miss. Realmuto's throw, safe at second, is Chris Bryant. A strikeout of Montero, and there are 2 outs.
For Bryant, stolen base number 7. Done a pretty good job, 7 out of 9. And picking this one up off Dyson. Dyson makes a good pitch to strike out Montero, but Bryant got a real big jump.
So there's the tying run. There's 2 outs. And here is DeNorfia.
Joe Madden does have Mike Baxter, left-handed batter, on the bench, but staying with DeNorfia here. if you're an infielder in this situation, you just tell yourself, got to knock it down. Don't let anything get by you to allow the run to score. Might not be able to make a play, but just try to knock it down.
Good breaking ball. DeNorfia out in front. And Dyson now with a count of 1-2. Dunn is ready in the bullpen. Coughlin, a lefty, on deck. Dyson's 1-2. Was time called?
I didn't see time called by the home plate umpire.
Well, there was no pitch apparently. Still 1-2. And that one just missed. And it's 2-2. Actually, it didn't just miss. It was just in, right at the knees, and it looked like it had a good portion of the plate. That is a big call. With a tying run at second and 2 outs in the 8th. 2-2. Yeah, got him. Sam Dyson, who didn't get that call on the 1-2 pitch, came back with a fastball, and it wrapped itself right on the outside edge. To the 9th in Chicago. Miami a 2-1 lead. Your South Florida Honda dealers by Kubota. For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com. By H. Gregg. Top brands, low prices, fast delivery. Gregg's got it. Chicago skyline from the John Hancock to the Sears Tower. Navy Pier in the background, that's the big fireworks locale. Soldier Field along the lakefront. That's where the Grateful Dead will be tonight. Here at Wrigley Field, the Marlins and the Cubs arrive in the 9th. And Justin Grimm becomes the 4th reliever for Joe Madden. Miami's lead is 2-1. Miguel Rojas, Cole Gillespie, and Ichiro scheduled in the 9th. A.J. Ramos starts his routine. Rojas 3 hits yesterday and 0 for 3 today. Grimm sends one to the screen. Miami had an opportunity in the 8th. Cubs ran through 3 different pitchers in 3 consecutive at-bats. And Travis Wood strikeout, long at bat and battle by JT Realmuto with the bags loaded, ended it. Rojas out to center, Fowler. Now Cole Gillespie.
One of the few ballparks, certainly as old as it is, with the bullpens down the foul lines. Always can get a little contentious if there's a pop fly down there, especially with a couple of guys warming up. In this case, just AJ's warming up.
See the news involving the Yankees and Alex Rodriguez, the statistical bonuses that he had been promised, and that was a point of contention between the Yankees and Rodriguez that has been resolved. And the 2 parties have agreed that $3.5 million will go to charities, the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, the Boys and Girls Club of Tampa, and Pitch In for baseball.
Now you see, I like that. That's a good ground, a common ground to cover.
Now Gillespie walks, a 1-out walk. I do too. That's a nice resolution to what was, one of those situations where I don't think either side was going to win, really. Here's Ichiro.
Would you think any time in this count you'd look for a hit and run, maybe to get things going for Ichiro?
Gillespie can run a little.
He can put it on the first pitch after a guy's just walked a batter, and he comes back and throws a strike.
Well, sort of a strike. Another strike. And it's 0-2. Saw Derek Dietrich. There he is on deck. Ramos just about ready in the bullpen. Ichiro takes in. It stays a ball and 2 strikes. Baseball and fireworks this weekend. Marlins tomorrow night are on Fox. Back with the Fox Sports Florida on Sunday. It's a 7 Eastern start tomorrow. 1:30 on Sunday on Fox Sports Florida. And then Fox has the Women's World Cup final Sunday night, 5 Eastern against Japan. Another 1-2 coming. Nitro gets just a piece. It's really hard I would expect, Tommy, for a hitting coach or anyone to watch Ichiro and say, well, this is a problem. This is what you're doing mechanically, because his mechanics are so unique. There's so many moving parts to him. Runner goes, pitches in, and Gillespie swipes second easily. Nicely done. There's an appeal down to third on the Ichiro check swing. He did not go. It's 2-2.
Good job in taking the bag if they're going to not really pay a lot of attention. Big high leg kick from Grimm and a nice jump from Gillespie. So he stole that bag. No play at all. Yeah, and in a case of Ichiro, there's nobody that knows his swing better than he does.
And Ichiro strikes out.
And when you see him striking out, it's unusual. It's the second time he's struck out today. Ichiro now 0 for his last 24.
He's one shy of his longest drought. Chris Bosio pops out of the dugout, and the Cubs pitching coach out to talk to Justin Grimm. You've got Dietrich and then Gordon. AJ Ramos. That's the lineup, at least initially, that Ramos would face on the scorecard. Coughlin, a switch hitting Herrera, and then a pinch hitter in the pitcher spot.
Coughlin with 8 home runs this year. We talked about Herrera has 1, but he homered yesterday against the Mets.
Dietrich has never faced the Cubs. Coughlin and Dietrich.
I think that might have been one of those visits from Chris Bosio, just to refresh your mind on the scouting report of Derek Dietrich and help Justin Grimm a little bit.
Gillespie at second. And Grimm misses out. Jason Mott is down in the Cubs pen. All you need to see is the beard. Two and two.
This is an area, even during the 3-game winning streak against the Giants, but leading up to that, it's an area that has really troubled the Marlins the last week or so, and that's hitting with runners in scoring position. 0 for 5 today.
Two and two to Derek Dietrich. Cole Gillespie has walked, stole second. And he got him. Dietrich goes down. The Marlins leave Gillespie at second. A.J. Ramos coming in, try to save this ball game. 2-1 Fish. of the ninth and try to end this thing here at Wrigley. Ramos, who very quietly has compiled outstanding numbers, especially once he moved into the closer role. A 1.23 ERA. If you look at other numbers closer, he's fourth among National League relievers with 45 strikeouts, third among National League relievers with that ERA, third among National League relievers in batting average against at 138.
Yeah, that's the amazing number to me. He just hasn't given up many hits, 17 hits. That's why that opposing batting average is 138.
Former Marlin Chris Coghlan is the first to hit. Jonathan Herrera is on deck. And then you've got the pitcher spot for the Cubs. In the ninth, Ramos goes to work. And he catches a corner for a strike.
Well, the left-handed bat that Joe Madden has is Baxter, Mike Baxter.
Fastball runs away. For Ramos, he appeared in 2 of the games against the Giants, games 1 and 3. Scoreless inning in yesterday's ball game, a 1-2-3 inning. Getting a hot Gregor Blanco and a hot Joe Panik to finish.
The Marlins trying to have their longest winning streak under Dan Jennings. They've had a couple of 3-game streaks.
Coghlan up the middle into center field. And the Cubs have life. Chris Coghlan.
Well, they have life and they have a little speed at first base in Coghlan as well. Pitch was up a little bit. I'm sure AJ wanted it down. Much easier to get to. You saw that quick shot we had of the dugout. You saw Perry Hill with the bunting motion out to the infield. Be alive for that.
Jonathan Herrera squares the bunt, drops it down. Ramos has it, throws to second, and gets the out.
What a play! What a stretch by Echeverria.
Coghlan is signaling to the dugout. He thinks he's safe. The Cubs, I would expect, are going to review it on video.
I'll tell you what, Rich, once I saw A.J. Ramos slip, I thought he would just go to first base and get the out.
And the Cubs are not going to challenge. What a play.
Just tremendous. Once he slipped, I thought, well, he'll concede that. He'll get the out. There's the slip. Strong throw. Look at the full-out stretch by Echeverria. Beautiful. Got him by a lot.
Yeah, he's clearly on the bag. You can't see where the ball was. Now, here's a better look at it. Ball in the back of the glove, foot's on the bag.
That's a great play on both ends.
Yeah, look at Echeverria channeling his inner first baseman there. Well, you still have some speed at first at the Herrera. Now you've got a power bat at the plate that could end it with just one swing, and that's Starlin Castro.
Certainly a free swinger. You have to be careful.
And Ramos opens with a strike on a breaking ball.
Castro in 76 games, over 300 at-bats, has walked just 13 times.
Castro tapper off the glove of Ramos. Echeverria gets an out. Castro runs well enough that I don't think that's a double play if it's untouched.
I don't think so at all.
But the Marlins might have been able to get the lead runner.
If he doesn't touch it, I think Echeverria can stay back on it and maybe get the ball and touch second. But he had to come in on it. once it was deflected by Ramos.
Addison Russell now. Rojas in for a visit with Ramos. 2 outs. Tying run at second. That's Jonathan Herrera. A lot of fans are still here. Over 41,000 in the ballpark. Maybe a few other thousand in the rooftops. Ramos a strike. Started Russell out just like he started Castro out. And the fans on their feet here in Chicago. Ball and a strike. Checkers brings you Marlins Live, and that's coming up. Craig Minervini, Preston Wilson standing by in the studio. Two and one. Strike and a bit of a knee buckler there with Addison Russell.
You and I talk about it all the time. Against most closers, you try to zero in on one pitch and you maybe take away the other if they don't have it working. In A.J. Ramos's case, if one isn't working, he's got a few others to go to.
2-2. He got him. Ball game. Miami wins it. A.J. Ramos, who continues to impress. Justin Bour, who continues to homer. And a 2-1 Marlin win. Christian Yelich and Justin Bour, both with solo homers. Spectacular game from Tom Kohler. The bullpen solid. Steve Cishek, Sam Dyson, and A.J. Ramos. A 2-1 final at Wrigley. Checkers presents Marlins Live. And it's coming up from the studio after this.